Alright folks, hopefully you can bear with me for just a little bit longer. I'm not quite set up, I'm running a little bit behind. Normally I do my my morning runs on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, but I had to skip it yesterday. So making up for that this morning just kind of set me back a little bit. It was a short run too, I only did about 2¼ miles. Alright, let's see. Get this a bit taller, I think. Got a poor connection. Is everybody seeing this all right? I did have some issues last stream because I was on my my mobile connection, but now I am on proper fiber internet, so this should go a bit better. Though I am still keeping it 480p, just because I think that's going to do us a little bit better performance-wise. Sorry for the shaking. Trying to get everything plugged in so we don't run out of batteries. All right, that's about where I would be. All right, and because this is my phone, I'm not going to be able to see any of the chat. So let's get Mr. Tablet up and running, just so I can see chat and notifications, if there is any. Oh yeah, we like to have lights in here, don't we? LEDs, because it's already too damn hot. Come on, open up, open up. Show me the wonderful chats. Hang on a second now, hang on a second. Work with me. Okay. That should be us up and running. So welcome to the shop. I'm Daddy Warcrimes. We are here woodworking with hand tools, working on a spice rack. Looks great. Who is that? Sorry, I didn't quite see your name. I don't think I got this up and running quite yet. Voodoo! Welcome back. Good to see you again, man. Yeah, I think the mobile connection is a lost cause for me. I don't think I'm even going to bother with that anymore. But unfortunately, I don't have this internet connection to myself. So I have to share. There's not much I can do about that. Let's get our apron on. Try and keep our shirt nice and clean. And you know what? Before I get started into this, what am I doing? Done anything on this since Tuesday. So you did not miss anything, Voodoo. Hopefully chisels will behave properly. I do not know what was going on with them last time, but that was not a fun time. All right, I'm just going to clean these up, take them down to the final depth where they're supposed to be, and then we'll do my test fitting and further finagling from there. And I'm still not seeing any chat on my tablet. It should be showing up, and I'm not seeing it yet, so I'm gonna have to just keep looking back up at my phone to make sure I don't miss anything. I can see that there is chat on the phone, I just can't see what it is from this distance. I've been looking up, since I've got a desktop, that's sitting around not doing anything because it's got a missing video card. The video card exploded. And I think the power supply is also out. But I've been looking at just really cheap, even used video cards, just to get that up and running, see if I can't get something out here in the shop so I can have multiple camera angles so it's a little bit more interesting. Because it doesn't make a whole lot of sense for me to move that. I think that would be terrible to have that camera, the one camera, just be moving around, have to pick it up and put it down and refocus it all the time. So that's why I'm just leaving it in place. But if I had a desktop or a laptop, something where I could plug in, you know, multiple USB webcams, I could set up maybe a camera like right here, maybe right in front, and just, you know, get different angles. And webcams are fairly inexpensive, so especially since I'm not going to be doing like 1080p up in here. Not anytime soon, anyway. That technology just is not affordable and not practical on my. Always going from the outside, working towards the middle, so we don't have any blowouts. I think I might need a little bit more lighting in here too. That would be nice. Been wanting to do LED shop lights up in here. But that's as much of a matter of time as it is money. I'm finding myself short on both, actually. But yeah, I've been checking out like Newegg and Tiger Direct for some cheap video cards. And I think I can get like a suitable one for about 50 bucks. Because OBS is only requires OpenGL version 3, I believe, and that's some fairly old technology. So I can get like a new old stock or something pre-owned would probably do the trick for me. And if it doesn't, I'm only out 50 bucks instead of 500. Been kind of interested in the Intel graphics cards, seeing that they're working on some fancy stuff. Not really sure about it, but some of the things I've heard were interesting. Like they were doing software implementations of Direct3D and OpenGL. Yes, 50 is better than 500 unless it doesn't do what you need it to. There's the old flawed wisdom. It's like, well, I couldn't pass up on this deal because I saved 50%. Well, you saved 50% on something you don't need. Something that doesn't suit its purpose. There's an old saying describing the differences between men and women. A woman will buy something that's, 50% off because it was on sale. She'll buy something she doesn't need because it was on sale. A man will buy something at double the price just because he needs it. Alright, that's pretty close. A little more on this side. Before I get dull. So Voodoo, I do want to thank you for like a nice group of folks. Yeah, data was a little bit tricky. It bugged me for a couple of hours until I came up with that remedy. It seems like it's going to be a good fix, and you know, it's not ideal, obviously, but I think it'll do the trick. Worst part of that, though, was trying to edit it. I've been having a lot of problems with my editing software, and I really hated editing videos just because of how bad the software was performing. That was OpenShot. It's a free one. Well, free for most people. I paid $100 for it. But yeah, it was just giving me so much difficulty that it was pretty much unusable. But I managed to figure out a way to get Adobe Premiere. So I was using that, and it's night and day difference. Really digging on Premiere. I'm also putting those videos on Twitch. So I want to keep, right now, Twitch as my primary source for video. But obviously Twitch is not really designed for long-term video hosting. It's designed for the live stream. I've also been considering putting everything on BitChute as well. I don't get anything from it. Nobody's actually watching it. Nobody's actually watching BitChute. I mean, it's like, you know, put everything on Vimeo, might as well. They're functional platforms. They do show videos, and I really like the way BitChute does it. I think that's it's clever. I'll say it's clever. It's a clever way to limit your own liability as the host by you know, doing peer-to-peer on the videos. And yep, dropping sweat on the end grain. That's not a good idea. The lumber was kiln dried. That's until you start dripping sweat all over it. Oh, this is going to be terrible when it actually gets to proper summer in here. All right, that's C, that's D. Let's see if we can fit these. Wow, that really does not fit. I got some work cut out for me. That's A, so that's C. Oh man. Let's see if we can't move some saws out of the way. Let's see. Put that around. So this way I can, you know, just keep this board, the tails, just readily accessible, so I can do my test fitting. And I've already got those chamfered fairly well. Got 3/4. Might have to put on a sweatband or something, start looking like a 1980s karate practitioner. Just got to keep that clean. I want to take all the final cutting off of the pins rather than the tails. Guess I am still going to need a 1/4 inch just to cut those shavings off at the bottom. Again, or vertical, perpendicular. Don't want to introduce angles where they're not needed. It's looking pretty close. Now onto the left one. What I am seeing about from the folks at Ready Set Stream, a lot of them are recommending getting a compressor for the microphone, which is unfortunate because I sold mine years ago. Had a really nice 2-channel compressor. I think it was a Korg, actually. But yeah, I stopped on my live performance aspirations. So I wanted to get rid of that and get myself a. I sold that. I sold my mixer. And I got the Line 6 pod, the amp modeler. Fun. I've never yet, so. I've got this weird thing where some of the relics or items I've got on display in my house, so presents from different folks, have international origins. So, for example, my wife's friend gave us a boomerang because she's from Australia, and we need to make a display stand out of that, so I made it out of Australian myrtle. And I've got a kukri imported from Nepal. That wasn't a present, I just bought it for myself because I think they're cool. But I wanted to make that out of teak because, you know, when I think of wood from Nepal, I think teak. And for the Mosin Nagant rifle that I got, you know, it's so make Missouri. Army transferred me to Phoenix, and my team got together and bought me a Mosin Nagant rifle as a going away gift. I think they were happy to get rid of me. But those guys were classy. They put a little brass plaque on the buttstock with my name on it. And the thing even shoots, which is a bonus. The guys where I retired from got me a sword, which was also pretty classy. I'm probably going to put it on display up in here once I get my French cleats up. Getting really close. Got to take some off of here. Just give it a little bit of persuasion. Not too much because, yeah. Got the wood a bit deformed right there. So you don't want to, when you're doing your test fitting, you want to be very, very cautious, not give too much pressure. Because you can break stuff and split stuff. It's actually a bit of a problem I've been having with my dovetails is I'm overly eager and I end up splitting some wood. Is that a crack? Dang it. And that thing I just warned you about, I just did it. I've cracked both boards because my joints were too tight. Can't even pay attention to my own warnings. Master woodworker I am. I think the leading edge is about right, so it's just a matter of making it, giving a little bit more room towards the bottom of the joint. And hopefully I only notice. Or we can just pretend we meant to do it that way. I won't tell if you won't. All right, I need to step out real quick, be back with a bottle of water. It is warm today in the workshop. I think my mustache might be melting. This is a practice joint. Makes an excellent coaster. This one's not quite straight either. Got a little bit of an angle that I don't need. We don't want any of these little fuzzies in here because that will prevent the joint from fitting correctly. These corners can be particularly difficult, these inside corners. You get little bits of fur that like to congregate in there. It is poplar. I went with poplar because poplar is cheap. And you can stain it. That is much nicer. Yeah, the wife wanted a dark wood like walnut. Walnut is twice as much. and you are D. Okay. You know what? This is bugging me a little bit. I need something to prevent my vise from racking. It's not the same, but it's dark. I've got a little bit of walnut over here, but I don't think enough to make anything of any significance. My mallet is part walnut. Got a video on this from about a year or so ago. Walnut and maple laminated together. And I don't use it because it's ridiculously large. And it's just completely unnecessary. But it was a fun project all the same. Let's clean up these first. Let's I need to do something. Well, step one. But it's not as hard as maple, that's for sure. Really nice to work with. I did like working with it. What am I doing? Okay. I have to manage the racking on my vise. So I think I got a 1/4-inch bit around here somewhere. There we go. Yeah, I do leave it on the, I think the title, or the, where I've got the pre-stream warning. It's like one of my favorite pictures is the mallet and like my 62 plane. And it's certainly a functional mallet. It's just, you know, if I were chopping like 2-inch mortises, I'd probably definitely want a mallet like that. You know, if I was doing some timber framing, yeah, I'd probably want a mallet like that. But I need a bit more finesse. So, you know, the good old Home Depot chisel hammer works just fine. All right, and now I can take my trusty pencil through this hole, and the vise won't rack. We are on C, right? That's D. Okay, next step. Sharpen the chisels. On screen, even though if they are nice tools, my bench is still pretty small. Although, once I get the French cleats up, I'll have lots of tools out for everyone to see. We're still looking for, are we on D or C? What joint am I on? Am I on D or C? Let's see. That's on the floor. That's D, okay. C fit. D. Yeah, it's not even close. The cleats? Oh, French cleats, yeah. It's really useful for hanging like heavy projects. So I've got on this one I'm going to use a metal French cleat because I never really planned it all that well. So this is a bit of a low profile, but yeah, you just bolt one end to the wall, bolt one end to the workpiece, and the wedging action holds it to the wall really nice and tight. And that way you don't have to worry as much about stud placement. I'm not very good at organizing either. I'm very glad I no longer work in an office because I was just terrible at that. Although I am also quite fond of Matthias Wandel's wall organization technique, where he just sets up a big piece of plywood and screws tool holders directly into it. His logic being that once you actually put a tool on the wall, the chance of you moving it is actually really, really slim. So, sorry, my microphone's kind of drooping here. So while it does initially make sense to have movable tool racks, tool holders, in the end you're not going to use it, so it doesn't make good in theory, not so much in practice to have, or not so important in practice to have movable storage. And, you know, that was easy to set up, but honestly I didn't like it. It was very unstable. Now James Wright had set up his shop with French plates, and he ripped all of them by hand because he is a true masochist. I am not so much. I'm committed to doing my joinery by hand, that's for certain, but when it comes to, you know, ripping 50 linear feet of oak, I'm going to use the table saw. Always these corners that give me trouble. I'm not wanting a whole lot of power tools in the shop. Table saw, bandsaw, and lathe are pretty much going to be the things I would really like. And I don't have a good bandsaw yet. Get a little maybe 10-inch wheels, little bench top thing. I tried to do some resawing of maple and oak with it. Blade kept wandering, so I ended up doing that on the table saw. That was a couple years ago. I was making a little keepsake box for the wife. So that was dovetailed box, laminated oak and maple. So I had maple on the outside, oak on the inside, and that was the box, and it was all dovetailed. So on the inside, when you open the box, you'd look in, you'd see the oak. On the outside, it was mostly maple, except on the corners, you could see the exposed dovetails, and then you had the lamination. So I thought it was pretty neat. Move on to this one. No, he is definitely not practical. At least not for selling in quantity. But you know, if you get good at what you do, and you get well recognized for what you do, you can charge a lot more for the pieces you do. Now, most folks obviously, you know, don't care about high quality joinery. And they're going to, you know, well, frankly, they're going to buy their furniture at IKEA. Yeah, I did like the boxes. You know, the joinery was not all that great because it was really my first project with dovetails. So it was like the third attempt I had made at dovetails. I'm getting better. My dad was a contractor, and when he started, you know, he would take any job he could get, and he focused primarily on tile floors, but you know, also did hardwood flooring, and you know, it's like, maybe he'll do it like a tile countertop and a tile backsplash, and you know, while I'm here, you know, you need to have a garbage disposal installed, so I'll go ahead and run the electrical for you. You know, just doing what work he could get because he could get paid for it. And you know, as he went along, you know, he started getting more and more skill, more and more specific skill, more and more specialized. And at the end of his career, he was pretty much countertops, and that's what he did. You know, he didn't have to worry about you know, ceramic tile. He didn't have to worry about electrical. He didn't have to worry about drywall. He could do all those things, He could do them efficiently, but he didn't want to do them, so he didn't. And where I'm at with woodworking, this is a hobby, you know? I've got a pension from the military. If and when I make any money off of woodworking, you know, it'll be a nice bonus, but I don't need it. So, you know, not everybody can do that, but that's what I want to do. And I'm also not very. You know, I take my time. I make mistakes. But for me, it is the process that I enjoy, not the results as much. I like the results because it's a proof of the skill. It's like when the dovetail joint actually fits. It's like, yes, I made something, and that is an awesome feeling. But you know, it's not a lot different than, say, you know, trying to work out a script for a computing task. You know, writing a really complex batch file. You get frustrated, you learn some skills, you trial and error, and when it finally runs, and you get the expected result, it's a great feeling. I think really matters. And the other thing is you have to make something better than you've made things before. What's the line from Dune? The sleeper must awaken. Is that wood burning? The pyrography? I've seen that term before. I've not explored it too much. Okay. I think I might have seen one or two streams of that before, so but you know, there's so many aspects of woodworking, it's impossible to do them all. One of the members of my local club recently did a presentation on 3D scroll saw work. It's like, yeah, that's too deep of a rabbit hole for me. Just trying to figure out where we're binding. I think a little bit over here. Ooh. Grain's turning on me. I do believe the next major direction I want to explore is the most useful skill or technique I could use for furniture making. Yeah, I actually don't use my coping saw very often. It's most of my lines are straight. My work is not artistic. It's honestly my favorite thing about woodworking is the actual joinery. Just making the pieces fit together. That's what I really like. Okay. And I evidently did not saw these straight. Let's get a bit of a chamfer on this too. Ooh. Well, that's a bit looser than I would like, but it fits. Okay, now the next question is, I've got another couple of rabbits to cut. I think that's probably what I'd go to next. And this is C. You know what? Don't want to do that yet. B, and that's A, so this is B. And there's a nice preview of what we're going to end up with. Except it's upside down. There's a nice preview of what we're going to end up with. All right. Let's and see, this is the project coming together. So I've got to cut some rebates, some rabbits up there and down here. That shouldn't be too much of a problem. And then I've got to cut the shelves to width because they are still a bit too long. They're going to fit in like so. And then I've got to cut the back. And we're going to stain it, glue it up, maybe not exactly in that order. And then, yeah, we can hopefully hang it on the wall. It's getting there. It's getting there, folks. Yeah, there's I think 80 bottles of spices. There's a lot of them. Four different types of paprika, I believe. You know, the wife doesn't complain because I have half a dozen hand planes. I'm not going to complain because she has 80 spices. The food tastes good, that's all I care about. Alright, so I believe this marking gauge is set. Yeah. Okay, let's just go ahead and get out Mr. Chisel. And I'll mark the ends of these other rabbets so I know where to stop cutting. Now, I'm sure there's things that matter more than good food. Like nutritious food, that's kind of important too, but you know, it takes away my rationale for complaining about it. Okay, and I do believe my rabbit plane is about set up for the right width. Yeah, that should still do the trick, but I do want to not go as deep. So I can move the depth stop on that. All right, so it fits. It's more or less straight. I can still flush it up a little bit with the plane later on. I am also facing a bit of a chicken and egg dilemma. Because I don't want to apply the glue before I stain, because the glue does not actually take the stain. And I'll be, you know, you'll see where the glue is because it won't accept the stain. That one's not wanting to come off. That came off fairly easy. Let's try that. Almost there. So you don't want to necessarily glue before you stain, because then the stain doesn't take where it's glued. But you don't want to stain before you glue, because I'm still going to have to trim up the joints with the plane, and then it's going to take the stain off. How are we going to accomplish this? Oh, just come over the edge. Yeah, I think so. Do kind of wish I had holes a little bit closer to the edge here. Which I could make happen. I just don't want to have too many holes in my bench. Okay. So a lot of that tail's coming off, or a lot of that pin. All right. And so let's set this a little less than 1/4 of an inch. I think that should do it for us. And I want to come in here, mark just behind the cutting iron. Come down. You know what? Let's get another marking gauge out here. Set this to about the depth we're going. And this will let us know, because I'm going to have to chisel out this part so the plane won't reach. Then we'll measure from this side, so put the sole of the plane back here. And actually, that's not as good of lines I'm going to make. All right, let's get to chiseling. What can I use here? 3/8. No. 5/8 a little too big. Let's go with the 1/2 inch. 1/2 inch. Will you be my friend? 1/2 inch will suit us just fine. And it's funny enough, last stream I was talking about making a new strop. And I think yesterday, very next day, Paul Sellers came out with a video on how to make a strop. I encounter a good number of very strange and convenient coincidences in my life. I'm not the luckiest man alive, but I tell you, I have some very strange luck at times. Let us chop. Let's find our hammer. Not too worried about going over the line this way. It doesn't really matter because I'm going to be taking that out with the rabbet plane. This is one of my favorites now. I love this plane. Making rabbets is so fun and useful. I still do have trouble keeping it aligned vertically. Yeah, he's done one before on making a strop, so this I think he's just trying to get another video. I think he's trying to do a better video this time. I think primarily where I get my skills from is from Paul Sellers. He is probably my favorite go-to resource. I bought one of his books and have neglected to read. Reading is no fun. I did not use his advice for the shooting. I just kind of clobbered that together based on a whole bunch of different resources, different videos and instructions. I've only got a 90-degree shooting board. I don't think I need a 45 at the moment. Put this away before I stab myself. And if I do ever need a 45-degree shooting board, I'll probably make just a 45-degree shooting board. I think that makes a bit more sense for me. Someday, though, I'm going to have to make picture frames. And I've gone over my depth, so that's going to take a little bit easier. Pay closer attention to what I'm doing. It's not too big of a deal if I go over on my depth, but you know, I don't want to make a habit of it. Well, that's okay, but I really don't think I have much interesting to say anymore. Just pound, pound, chop, chop, make half of a mortise. This is just where it gets tedious because I've got not only this, but I got to do that, and then I got to do the same thing on the other side as well, on the other piece. You know what I might do? So I don't think I need my router plane for anything at the moment, so I could do my final cleanup on this guy. So I'll keep that handy just in case. Decided to do that. You could technically do a rabbit with a router plane, but you would not have a very clean bottom of that joint. The router plane does not have any kind of supporting sole like the 78 does. I could do it with the combination plane, a proper sole in place. So like as a straight comparison, here's the 45, and we can see the skates have this big gap here in the middle, so the wood isn't being supported. But here with the 78, you know, you've only got that really small gap in the mouth where the blade is. So you can do rabbits with this. But if you got one of these, it's a better choice. And the combination plane does a whole bunch of things. I just don't really think it's good for, or really well suited to any of them. Very much like a 12 gauge shotgun in that respect. Man, I am just going way too far. Okay. Shotguns are good for ducks and doorknobs. They're suitable for just about anything else, but that's all they're really good for. moving across a 1/16 of an inch at a time. I think I've got one of my neighbors out mowing today. Yesterday, about half the neighborhood was out on their lawns, including me. I've got almost an acre here, so it does take quite a bit of mowing. It's one of the reasons why this whole workshop smells like grass right now, because the mowers are over there on the other side of the garage. And the really fun part is I got this drainage ditch running between me and my next door neighbor. And yeah, you can't really get a mower down in there, so only real option is a weed whacker. And it's about say 50 yards by about 3 yards across, just going back and forth. With big rubber boots on because there's still water in it. And frogs. The frogs were not happy about my presence. I about ran over 3 of them with the mower. Fortunately, they're quick little buggers. Fortunately for them. And I'm not really excited about cleaning frog guts out of my mower. One of the strangest things I've ever seen is those out in Kansas some years back. I don't know, being a landlord might be worthwhile, but I've still got a few years to figure that out because I'm still paying a mortgage on it. But anyway, I stopped into Home Depot, get some stuff to fix up the place. And go back in the parking lot and I see this dude with a spool of twine. And he ties one end around a tree and ties the other end to the front of his car. Gets in his car after everything's all tied up and secured and backs out. And this giant frog, I mean, this thing's like huge. Okay, obviously, legs and all. So it's a bit more splayed out, but Dang big frog, bigger than I'd ever seen in Kansas, comes popping out of his grill. A surreal moment, to say the least. And of course, in the aftermath, all you see is a dead frog tied to a tree. No one but me, the wife, and the guy who did the deed to know the wiser how that came to pass. Not going to make a of this joint. Stopping right through it. That is regrettable. I probably ought to have the pins on there attached too. I don't know how to make that work quite yet. Almost there. Maybe 3 more chops. Maybe 4. Nope, wrong again. We'll call it 5. Would not have liked to do that if I could have avoided it. Let's get this pared down to square. And again, I'm not worried about going over this line like I might be on a mortise, just because that's all getting planed off later anyway. Okay. Let's get out number 71. See if we can't flatten the bottom a bit better. Well, this was much more pleasant than it could have been with a chisel, I suppose. Get out of there. All right. Back to this side. This one's going to be a lot longer. Only been here an hour and a half, really not all that much. Though seeing it fitted all like that, it was pretty nice. I like seeing that. We're gonna get this rabbit done. That's my goal. Before the end of the stream, this rabbit will be done. All right, we're getting to depth. It's about 4 hammer blows, maybe 3. Or 2. 2 if I do real nice wax, good wax. More sharpening. third of the way there on this part of the cut. Now I wonder, I've got to do an experiment here. So I've got that. I actually have a fence for this plane. I think that goes there. Think this will work, guys? But worth a shot, I would say. That's too aggressive. And tear out's going to be the big issue, I'd say. So let's make sure this line is fairly well established. I'll give myself a place to stop here, and I probably really shouldn't be experimenting like this on a production piece. Who am I kidding? This is hanging in my kitchen. Whoa. Well, it seems to be working. I don't think I'm getting too much tear out. And the main thing is I don't want to go over the line on the right. Once I got that established with a marking gauge, you know, it's seemed to be in the clear. is moving around a bit more than I'd like. Then, yeah, there's not much I can't get that fast. And still have room to work the plane. And the plane iron is not wide enough to do the whole rabbit in one pass. That's okay, I can make 2 passes. Now I can't do the other end with the fence in place, but that's okay. Because it's still saving me quite a bit of work with the chisel. And I'm probably going to still have to come down and square up that face with the chisel. That shouldn't be too much effort, I don't think. Speaking of chisels, get an end cut here. That's about down to depth, so shouldn't need to do that again. You know what I could do? I mean, this fence will go on both sides, so I can just turn the fence over and put it on the other side and approach it from the left. I got 15 minutes to complete this rabbit. I can do it. Alright. I'm gonna go ahead and do it. The fence on the other. Yeah, I've thought about building planes, but fortunately I have the self-awareness to realize that I am not going to actually do it. So I don't have to even attempt it. I mean, I did the poor man's router once, but I got over that real quick. Now, it certainly does appeal to me to build my own planes, but I am keenly aware that the level of precision required for such an endeavor is beyond my meager abilities. Okay, let's get some chappies going. know that's just going to tear out and rip out and gives me problems. I'm really close to the inside of my pin here. Just a hair away from it. So that wood is not going to last in that position. I figured you might be on here, BB Frogger. And by the way, thanks for letting me use your music. Voodoo BB Frogger is an old friend of mine who does a lot of electronic music composition. A few ones out. But yeah, he lets me use his tunes on some of my videos to make them. Yep, that's coming out. So the rabbit is now officially intersecting with the dovetail joint. Back in touch with this. Oh, okay. Yeah, actually, yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, as appropriate as your sample sounds and the voiceover, I don't know, whatever you would call those, as appropriate as those are with the songs, they're not as useful to me. And that's why with the mallet video, when I did, I used Because, I think. I went with your previous version rather than the new one because I couldn't get the vocal. Especially when I'm adding my own voiceover. So, you know, you get two people talking about two completely different things. Adds to confusion. So yeah, if you can get those to me, I would much appreciate it. Not that I'm planning on doing a whole bunch of videos anytime soon, but Premiere is definitely going to make it easier and more pleasant to do so. And now, the easy part. Tiny little shavings. I probably should have sharpened this beforehand. You know what? Let's go ahead and do that. Hey, I appreciate that, man. And I will give you link backs because I can't afford to give you anything else. Everybody else, all the other woodworkers like to use country music, acoustic guitar, folk sort of songs as their backing tracks. Try and do something different with electronic music. Put that in the right way. I had a friend trying to use a plane. He just had a number 4 stand of some sort. I need something to stop movement here, because I could very easily break that out, and I don't want that. So let's do this. Get this one to give me a little bit of height, and put this right about there. Yeah, I wouldn't call B.B. Frogger's music dance music. I know that's what he calls it. And B.B. Frogger, do you mind if I use your first name? Because that's been easier for me to remember. I don't know how particular you are to privacy on this venue. But yeah, his music's a bit eccentric, I would call it. It's good, but it's not what you're going to be accustomed to. Yeah, that's kind of what I was figuring, but just wanted to make sure. Experimental electronica, okay. Just don't use hipster names, and we should be okay. So nobody likes the hipsters. Well, I keep telling you, if you don't stick with socially acceptable time signatures, you're never going to get anywhere. Pink Floyd can get away with it, but they already had a following by that time. Okay. What was the name of your the working name of your new record? Or do you have a proper name yet? If there's one thing I've learned about marketing is you have to go where the customers are. Omniverse, okay. Yeah, my last work, we were career counselors for the Army Reserve, you know, doing retention and whatnot. Someone had the genius idea of coming up with a blog. And it's like, that's not useful to us because no one actually cares about what we're selling. We have to make them care. No one is going to come to our blog, so why are we having a blog? Social media was useful, definitely. But you know, you have to, when you're doing a really specific type of marketing, yeah, I do concur. The Vocaloid's probably a really great choice for you. Because you do have a built-in fan base there already. Not really sure how this woodworking thing's going to go for me. I'm not, don't know how to market this yet. Instagram seems to be a really good help though. Apparently need to go just a little bit deeper. Yeah, I have been curious about your Vocaloid stuff because I do notice that a lot of the other artists that I've seen their Vocaloid is a lot more easily understood than yours. I don't know if that was intentional on your part or not. And I do know you are still fairly new to it. Been using it, what, just a couple of years now? Less than a year, okay. I see. I don't know what that noise was supposed to be that one of my phones just made. Some kind of warning. Well, I have seen normal stream length. I'm really close to death now, and that'll do her. All right, definitely not the prettiest stopped rabbit in the world, but using that router plane, I think helped me out quite a bit. We're gonna have to continue on that. But there we go. See if we can't get a close-up of here. I know the lighting's not great close to the camera, but I've got pins and I've got a rabbit going into the pins and very thin little membrane just in between. Had to take it off on this side. But that should help us get the backing in there really nice. I'll probably do the next rabbet off stream up on here. And hopefully that will be a little bit less painful than this one. But David Voodoo, I do appreciate you stopping by and joining me today. It's been a really good time. And as always, archives on YouTube. Follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and oh yeah, here on Twitch. Twitch is a great place to follow me. That's it. Have a great day.